And my husband's filming. This is Emily Hogan. I'm going to talk about how to bake and decorate a cake. Oh dear, that's not what I wanted to do. Y'all bear with me. Ta-da! This is a cake that I've done in the past. Made it from scratch and everything. So just going to tell you how to do the cake. My goal is to show you how long and how tiring the process can be to bake a cake from scratch, decorate it from scratch, and put it all together to perform that, or to see that. Hopefully by the end of the speech you'll see that a cake at the end of this process is more than just a baby to us. It's like a baby to us. And we have huge amount of pride put into it. I've been doing cakes for about 7 years now. My instructor her name is Portia Kimball. She was recently on, the Cooking Network for the show Cake Wars. She was on there. She's the one that initially taught me how to decorate. My grandmother. She's the one that got me into baking and decorating. The reason why I want to show how to make a cake is because I'd like to show the misconception of why personalized cakes are so expensive or not worth the price. They take a long time to create. They take a long time to think up and research and everything like that. So that's why personalized cakes are more expensive. And like I said, they're more than just a cake to us. They are a baby, they're a symbol of pride. So we spend a lot of time and effort into our cakes. And then there's the tons and tons of time in each cake. Some bakers like to start from scratch. I kind of do mine by scratch. I use Anne Bren's book, The Cake Mix Doctor, by Workman Publishing in New York. It was copywritten in 1999. In her book, she uses boxed cake mixes as an ingredient. And so that's why I find this very practical, because as a mom of 2 daughters that are always on the go, this helps me cut down on some of the time. For her basic vanilla cake recipe, you'll need a vanilla cake mix, sour cream, eggs, vegetable oil, and vanilla extract. This recipe can be found on page 398 in her book. It's under Basic Sour Cream White Cake. I usually like to mix all the wet items first, just because that way there's nothing dry sticking to the bottom of the bowl. And then the next part, once I've put the cake in the oven, I like to use it's my time management. I do like to make my icings from scratch. I have a general recipe that I go by, but then I have my daughters taste test it for me, and if one says it's too sweet, then I know that I need to make it just a little bit, like add some salt. That actually helps. And then if other one says it's just right, then we're on the good path to go. After I've baked it and let it cool and chill, I put what's called a crumb coat on there. That is basically what you see in this picture. It's just like a rough copy, I guess you could say. It's just to get the icing on there, get it chilled, start getting it in the process. While it's chilling, I like to make all the details, like the bow. The bow is one thing I had to make. The petals that you saw on the bottom, I make those by hand, and that's using fondant and gum paste. I also like to try and clean up the kitchen while I'm waiting for my husband laughs. While I wait for the cake to chill and harden up with the icing and whatnot. But the most important thing is while it's chilling is to work on those details. And as you saw in that picture, there's a lot of details that need to be made. Come on, here we go. See? And this is the basic process that I did for the petals. This is not my picture, but I used a similar cutter. I did like the picture before. I ruffled it out, and then I just layered it out like so. And then the top, I used a cookie cutter, and then just put pearls on the top. The most important thing that you want to remember is to take your time. That's when you want to really get things done nicely, especially if it's going to a birthday party or I've done a wedding. Those are really important. I also, at the end of my cakes, like to take pictures hence why you see that one picture. And usually people find these things on Pinterest. I use that as a reference just because people like to come up with all kinds of pictures. The last thing, we have the final cake. The last thing is to carefully box it up. These are very, very heavy by the end of the time you're finished. I've used my daughters to help me carry the cakes and deliver them and whatnot, so they are very careful with the cakes. And there's also the anxiety of whether or not the customer likes it. That's my least favorite part, is delivering the cake, because then I don't know if the customer's gonna like it. I hope they are. That's about it. And then at the end of the process, it's just to go home and clean off the kitchen table, and that's it. So that is how you basically, in a nutshell, very, very nutshell way, decorate and bake a cake from scratch.